I'm Paone, and this is my presentation on nuclear energy. Now, you can see based on this breakdown of carbon emissions in the U.S., energy production makes up 38% of the total greenhouse gas emissions produced by the United States. And since greenhouse gases are the leading cause of global warming, we need to find a way to reduce that number. Margaret Thatcher recognized this in her United Nations speech, or in a speech to the United Nations General Assembly in 1989. And she also recognized that nuclear energy might be an effective way to replace fossil fuels. So we must ask the question, is nuclear energy a viable solution to decrease the emissions of greenhouse gas and replace fossil fuels as an energy source? Now, as a bit of background information, here's how nuclear energy is produced. Nuclear reactors use uranium as a fuel source, and the uranium atoms collide together, and the atoms split in a process called fission. Fission releases energy in the form of heat. The heat turns water into steam. The steam turns a turbine, and the spinning turbine produces energy. Now, this process does not release greenhouse gases. However, it does produce nuclear waste, which is an issue that I'll be addressing later. Now, first off, what are the pros of nuclear energy? Now, one of the major pros is its efficiency. 1 kilogram of coal can produce around 12 kilowatt hours of heat, whereas 1 kilogram of uranium can produce around 24 million kilowatt hours of heat. This makes uranium about 2 million times more effective than coal. Now, not only is coal more efficient, it is also more cost effective. As you can see, based on the green line, the cost of uranium, it's about 0.5 cents per kilowatt hour to use, whereas coal, represented by the yellow line, costs around 2 cents per kilowatt hour to burn. This makes uranium about 2.6 times less expensive than coal. However, this cost only includes the cost of the material. It doesn't include the cost of maintenance. And for most fossil fuels, the cost of maintenance is almost negligible. For coal, this is the case. However, for uranium, the cost of maintenance costs about 1.5 cents per kilowatt hour, making the prices almost equal. Now, on to the cons of nuclear energy. Before I start this, I have to preface this by stating that there are a lot more cons to nuclear energy because it is inherently dangerous if used incorrectly. So, the first primary cause is the fear that is brought on by nuclear energy, and this is mostly caused by the Chernobyl incident. The Chernobyl disaster occurred on April 26, 1986 in Pripyat, Ukraine, during a routine safety reinspection of reactor number 4. Now, the explosion alone only killed 2 people. However, the nuclear fallout killed thousands, as the explosion spread cesium-137 throughout the population. This includes just the general population of Pripyat, first responders, and the actual power plant employees. Now, cesium-137 is highly radioactive and can cause cancer if someone is exposed to it. And this left many people fearing nuclear energy. However, this fear is unwarranted. According to Gregory B. Jusko, the former chairman of the United States Nuclear Safety Administration, or Nuclear Regulatory Commission, say that the Chernobyl incident was a avoidable tragedy, as the reactor design was flawed and it was unique to only the Soviet Union. As well as the Soviet Union had a lacking understanding of the most basic nuclear safety procedures. Now, another issue is the waste and dangers that are associated with it. And according to an MIT research report, it stated that there are currently no storage facilities for nuclear waste throughout the entire world. So before countries can truly pursue nuclear energy and to replace fossil fuels, there need to be permanent storage solutions for their radioactive waste. Not only that, there also need to be proper ways of handling and transporting the material, as there has been a rising concern about transporting the material in recent years. And the same report also stated that these storage facilities may also be a target for terrorist attacks, as they may target the facilities to spread radioactive waste throughout a population. That's another factor as far as the location of the storage facilities. Another issue with it is that it has very poor public opinion. In a survey done in Switzerland in 2013 following the Fukushima incident, it found that 72% of respondents were against nuclear energy, and of those 72%, 25% were completely against nuclear power. Now, this means that either governments will have to build the reactors themselves, as companies will not want to, or provide incentive for companies to build the reactors, as a company may not want to dirty their name by building a nuclear reactor which most citizens will not want to have in their city. Now, already actually might be too late in certain areas for nuclear energy, as global warming has made the waters in that area too warm to effectively cool nuclear power plants in Europe. Global warming is also causing more droughts, which will prevent nuclear reactors that are inland from having the reservoirs refilled naturally, and it also causing increased or more powerful storms, wind, and wave damage to buildings on the coast, meaning that if it's built on the coast, there will be, or if it's built on the coast, sorry, if it's built on the coast, then there'll be more substantial damage, meaning the reactor will have to be shut down or moved before an incident like Fukushima can occur. Now, what are some possible solutions? Well, the possible solution is that there needs to be no solution as reactors are currently safe. There's merely just a large fear and stigma against nuclear energy, as most reactors are currently constantly under immense regulations, as well as undergo frequent safety tests to make sure that an incident like Chernobyl will not happen ever again. An incident like Fukushima was an accident because of where it was placed, as the damage were from a tsunami and an earthquake. So that means if countries decide to place the reactors in places or continue to hold companies that create reactors to an incredibly high standard, as well as build them in areas where things like tornadoes, earthquakes, and tsunamis aren't common, we can avoid incidents like Fukushima or Chernobyl ever happening. Now, an actual solution would be the use of a thorium reactor. And thorium reactors work similar to a uranium reactor, except it uses thorium instead of uranium. Now, this makes reactors safer because a meltdown incident that will result in explosion is an impossibility, as thorium requires a separate element for the fission process to start. Normally, plutonium or uranium-235 is used. So if a meltdown does occur, the thorium can be drained away from the more radioactive substance, thus preventing an explosion. It's also safer than uranium because waste generated by thorium reactors is significantly less radioactive than its uranium counterpart, as well as it is more abundant. There is about 4 times more thorium than there is uranium throughout the world. And this is also a government-backed project, as countries such as the United States, China, and India are all working to create thorium reactors. So based on this research, here's what needs to happen. Here's what needs to happen: is that there need to be permanent nuclear waste storage facilities need to be built, as well as new reactors need to be built immediately, so no more areas become blacklisted for nuclear energy because of global warming. As well as there needs to be more research done by private companies in thorium reactors, so we can have those built faster, so that more people will be at ease having a nuclear reactor that absolutely could not result in an explosion in the city, and which will put more citizens at ease. And thank you, and here's my works cited.
Anthony, what information did you need before you began your research, and how did that information shape your research?
I needed to know what the general cons against it were, because I knew that yes, explosions were a problem, but how prevalent they were, I guess. I suppose it'd be more prevalent how prevalent were the fears of nuclear reactor, and I found that they weren't valid fears. They were just irrational fears. And that kind of shaped my issue, or the overall point of my essay as, yes, we need this, and there.
What might be the real-world implications or consequences, influence on others' behaviors or decision-making processes of your findings? What are the implications to your community?
The implication of this is that if we pursue nuclear energy, we will have less carbon emissions throughout the world, as well as we have more abundant source of energy. As far as local implications go, there aren't too many, as Lubbock, Texas isn't exactly a great place for a nuclear reactor, as there's very little rain to refill a reservoir, and we already have things like wind energy here.